He inherited an 11-2 program. He didn't inherit no 11-2 team. 44% of the team turned over. 44%. That's 37 players,
Yeah.
including your top two quarterbacks and receivers and tight ends. And how many defensive players did they lose to the draft? Like 5 or 6?
Yeah. And it was a facade of
It wasn't even that good of a draft or a good of a defense. So,
and it was a facade of an 11-2 team. Like, and again, I get it. Wins are wins. I was
I
championing,
love it. Hey,
and I agree that like it's hard to win. So like, I'm not gonna discount the wins we had, but again, like it's not as if this was you were on a dominant 11-2 team, and now you come in and we're 5-4. Like that's what people are saying, and I'm like, you're
it's not even the same team is the problem. That's the point.
that's
We're talking apples and oranges now because we have a whole new system. We have a whole new bunch of players.
yep.
I mean, 85 scholarship players, there's 37 of them were not here.
Yeah.
You know.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.
Welcome back to the Hall of Fame College Football Podcast. I'm your host, Jason Watkins, and if you love college football, you're definitely in the right place. So before you forget, smash that red subscriber button, like our videos, and don't forget to ring the bell so you don't miss one moment of the Hall of Fame College Football Podcast. I have my guest today is Mr. Jalen Posey. He is one half of the JP and Trav Show at Indy Sooner on Twitter. And we're just going to talk a little bit today. Big Sooner fan here. And I liked what you did yesterday or the day before. Basically, it was a 24-hour poll, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So put a poll up there kind of because there's been just a lot of stuff. As we talked about a lot, well, really, we've been talking about a lot. I did a video last week, taking up for Bates and all that stuff that people were saying about him being a trash recruiter and stupid stuff like that. Folks, I was really, really glad to see that, the question was, should they let go of Brent Venables after just one season? It wasn't so that he could start stuff. He wanted to find out who it was, how many people were really feeling this way. And, the good news is most of it was, the better part. Only 162 out of 3,950 voters were like calling for his head. That's good news to me, But tell me a little bit. What made you decide to go ahead and do that, JP?
Yeah, I've been in some conversations. Obviously, I've seen some stuff on Twitter, but I've even been in conversations between guys I'm in group chats with. And there was just a lot of, clamoring for, this is terrible, this is ridiculous. Like, this is not what we expected. This team is way better than this record and there's stuff like that. And, I don't know if BV's the guy. I don't know if this is, where the direction we should be going before we head to the SEC. Like, we're going to have to make a decision quickly. And I was just like, I don't know. I was kind of dumbfounded. I'm just, I think a lot of people are being unfair. They're really not being honest about the situation. And I said, hey, like, let me go ahead and put this poll out because I want to see how many people really feel this way. And like you said, I was pleasantly surprised that about 96% of almost 4,000 people, said that, hey, we don't think we should move on from BV right now. Like, we need to give him. We need to give him time, and I'll let you, continue here in just a second. But one of the biggest points I was wanting to get to is we all sat over here over the last, 8 or so months before the season started, and did we not all say, man, there was obviously, a disingenuous culture going on.
Absolutely.
we knew that. We knew that what the decaying that was happening once everything came out. One week left. It doesn't matter if last year's team was 11-2, and let's get to that, because last year's team, were we not all consistently whining and moaning about even being 9-0? How, man, we could easily be 5-4 right now.
Absolutely. And I was going through that a lot earlier. They had 6 one-score games that easily could have went the other way. At least 3 of them probably should have. There's no way you're supposed to win that Texas game when you go down. If it's not for Caleb Williams putting his cape on and doing Superman, there's no way that they win that game. And they shouldn't have won that game. And that partly is Sark, doing what Sark does. But then you've got, West Virginia 16-13, Tulane 40-35, and don't get me wrong, I know Tulane's good this year. They beat Kansas State, but I mean, it's not the same. The 23-16 game at home against Nebraska, they should have broke them down. There's no way that should have been that close. So if we're talking about that this team was so good, and that's what that narrative that I felt like kind of came out early in the year, because how Colin Cowherd is always loving to just pump up Lincoln and the SC squad and all that. And then after they lost that first game against Kansas State, and we've actually got Sooner fans that are saying the same stupid stuff, the same stupid stuff. And good grief. Yeah, he inherited an 11-2 program. He didn't inherit no 11-2 team. 44% of the team turned over. 44%. That's 37 players, including your top 2 quarterbacks and receivers and tight ends. And how many defensive players did they lose to the draft? Like 5 or 6?
Yeah. And it was a facade.
It wasn't even that good of a draft or a good of a defense. So,
and it was a facade of an 11-2 team. Like, and again, I get it. Wins are wins. I was champion.
I love it. Hey.
And I agree that, like, it's hard to win. So, like, I'm not going to discount the wins we had. But again, like, it's not as if this was you were on a dominant 11-2 team, and now you come in and we're 5-4. Like, that's what people are saying. And I'm like, you're
not even the same team is the problem. That's the point. We're talking apples and oranges now, because we have a whole new system. We have a whole new bunch of players.
Yep.
85 scholarship players, there's 37 of them were not here.
Yeah.
Hey, folks, Jason Watkins, Hall of Fame College Football Podcast. If you'd like to help support our show, we have a fabulous way for you to do so. We have teamed up with the #1 team merchandise retailer in the world, Fanatics. That's right, Fanatics. Now, the next time you need a new hat for your favorite team, shirt, even memorabilia, all you have to do is go to our website first. hofmedia.us/fanatics. That's hofmedia.us/fanatics. At the bottom of the page, there is a blue Fanatics logo. You click on it, then shop as normal. You're going to get up to 65% off everything in the store, and we get a small commission for everything you purchase. It's a win-win. So again, hofmedia.us/fanatics. That's hofmedia.us/fanatics. You help the show and save a bunch by doing so. It's a win-win situation, and we get to continue bringing you fabulous content week after week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's no depth to be had, and that's the conversation I was having the other day. How can you have accountability with no depth? Is what we were talking about early in the Grinch years. Was we need to build depth, and eventually, when we built depth, we got a little bit of accountability. But now, when you're with Venables, like, you're talking about all these things, like, like, I feel like the game plan is too much or whatever else. And it's like, well, really, if you actually break it down, the game plan is not like, you can talk about, I know Danny Stutzman's father said that there are 60-page game plans. I get that. I know they're difficult. But the stuff that they're doing on the field, like the plays are actually called, for the most part, people are there. They're just not making plays, or they just made the wrong decision. So, like,
they don't have gap discipline. They don't have any kind of stuff. There's a lot of that stuff that you can see if you're paying attention to it. The problem is guys like these right here, these casuals, that they look at the score, they look at the end result, and they make judgments, or they hear somebody else say stuff like that. Yeah. And so they just echo it and be as loud as they can be. Yep. And, I feel like it was the perfect time yesterday to kind of come out and say, hey, stop being a casual. If you're going to talk, at least know what you're talking about, because the the truth of it has been, it's been a freaking facade for 10, 12 years. Easy. They've been bad on defense for a long time. It hasn't ever been, and it never really had to be addressed because Texas was trash and Oklahoma State is a constant underachiever.
Yep.
So you go and you win 6. You win 6, Big 12s, and everybody thinks everything all is right in the world in Norman. It's not. It was trash for a long time. It's just the offense was great. And I mean, we had amazing quarterback play.
Yep.
That's one thing Lincoln did fine was that. The whole team is a problem, What about the strength in the trenches? Do you agree with what I was saying about that they're getting beat up in the trenches? The strength in the conditioning program has been bad for at least a few years.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree, especially on defensive line. I think the offensive line has been fine. Generally. Right. I think they've been, honestly, the most consistent unit on the team, really. The offense has performed pretty well most of the year. But the defensive line is a problem. I mean, to not get any pressure, since Nebraska, and to be honest with you, even going back and watching a lot of these games, most of the sacks we had were really coverage sacks. It was really never
they got those ones against UTEP at Gavin. I mean, because he kept kind of, they couldn't get any separation in the secondary, so he just kept taking hits. I know that kid is.
I'm talking about we're not blowing guys off the, we're shedding blocks. We get blocked constantly. And that is a problem. And, to be honest with you, I think a lot of us thought that, and look, like star wise, yes, we have talent on the defensive line.
Sure.
But it doesn't take into account development prior, and again, what they had prior. And so Todd Bates is as proven as a defensive tackles coach as there really is, besides maybe you could say Larry Johnson. And
not one single guy that he's coached hasn't been at all conference at least once.
Yeah, that's
one single guy.
So we know he knows how to coach. And so, and this is my larger conversation, bro, and this is a video I made yesterday. At what point do you hold players accountable? Because look, I understand that you want to sit here and you want to say, well, it's the coach's responsibility, it's the coach's job. And I agree. And you know what? The coach is taking heat for it, and they're not going to throw their players under the bus. I don't know if you know this. I'm an athletic director. So that's my full-time job. Yep. That's where I'm about to go. I'm about to have a meeting right now. I'm like, some of these people, like you must have never been in coaching before, because Correct. I can't tell you how many conversations I've had with my coaches, or even like in my coaching career, where you work on something in practice ad nauseum over and over and over.
And then they don't go out and perform it like they're supposed to.
They're in headlights, and you are sitting there like, are you kidding me? Like, are you kidding me? It doesn't matter if it was first game. It doesn't matter if it's 10 games in. Like, clearly, like, if people are going to sit here and say that Brent Venables can't coach defense or Todd Bates can't coach it, like, he literally had, for the last 10 years, 8 out of the last 10 years, top 10 defense.
I love this stat.
8 out of the last 10 years he had a top, and that's a fact. Go look it up.
Like, I know it is.
So how do we just think, oh my gosh, he's not doing the right thing, he's making it too complicated, he's doing this, he's doing that, and it's not going to get rectified? That's where my problem is. I think people have too much PTSD, they're not trusting, and they get crazy. Yeah. And I'm like, facts. Like, look at the statistics. Yeah. We know that he knows how to do this. We know it's proven. Like, that, you don't even have to work.
No, 8 out of 10 years. Listen, they 2 national titles, and when you start talking about Bates, 9 All-Americans. He's already put 3 guys in the top 20 of the 20 draft. Turns around, he's got 3 guys waiting to go in the first round. One of them's hurt. I don't know. We're going to see what happens with him. But he's a top 10 guy.
Yep.
You know what I mean? This is a guy, and Rivals Recruiter of the Year in 2020. But he don't know what he's doing. Guys, we weren't getting in the room with these guys before.
Yep.
We may not be beating Larry Johnson to the punch on guys like, the guy the other day or last week. We're not beating that. That's the godfather of defensive line coaches in the country. It is. So, I mean, it is what it is on that. That being said, 10 years ago, were we even in the room? 5 years ago, were we in the room? I don't know that freaking Grinch even knows what a big guy is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, It's just silly. It's silly, man.
Yeah.
And bottom line is that to me, we're talking about the wrong stuff. And you could see it though coming all summer when you have all these people drinking the Kool-Aid about we're going to go to the CFP. And I'm thinking, how in the world do you think that's possible? I don't care. Hey, everybody, Jason Watkins, Hall of Fame College Football Podcast. Just want to remind everybody to join me and my boys from the Lone Star College Football, Christian Harrington and Logan Patterson, tonight as we react live to the second set of CFP rankings put out there by the committee. A lot of things happened last week. There should be at least 2 teams out of that top 4. And who ought to be in for sure? TCU. We'll find out if they kind of do them dirty the way they did a week ago. But with Alabama losing, they really don't have any excuses. TCU should be in that top 4. We're going to find out tonight. Also, we'll talk a little bit about what seems to be going on with that Oklahoma Sooner program. Colton Vasek appears to be going back on his commitment to the Sooners. Looks like he is going to be going to Texas after all. He is a legacy guy. His dad played at Texas. Not that surprising for me, but we will talk about that as well as some of the players at Texas A&M are starting to jump ship already. You got decommits from a couple of big-time players coming out of high school in Texas there, and we'll talk about who we expect, where we expect those guys to land, all tonight on the Hall of Fame College Football live stream, 8 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Nope. Standard Time. Something. I don't know. We'll see tonight. I don't care if Dylan Gabriel is John Elway. It's not happening.
Yeah.
You know, there's just no way. If they go 8, if they win 8 or 9 games, that's a great season.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And they still have a chance to win 8, but I don't know. Maybe they do, maybe they don't.
They do have a chance. And and here's what I'm saying, right? I get it. We shot ourselves in the foot against Baylor. That's 100% factual, and I'm okay saying
No doubt.
And I'm a man of accountability. I drank a little bit of Kool-Aid. I didn't say we're going to be a college football playoff. I said if it's the best it can be, I think we're 10-2, right? And I said if it's
I kind of felt like they might challenge for the Big 12 championship, but I wasn't positive about it.
Right. If it's the worst thing, I said 8-4, and that it may end up being worse than 8-4. I don't know. 8-4 still a possibility, but you know, I think that we were concerned in those 3 weeks where we get blown out against TCU. Obviously, we lose Dylan Gabriel. Texas happens. You know, the Kansas State win was more like the Baylor win. You're close, but you should have made more plays. And here's where I'm calling out some inconsistent Sooner fans. You were upset because you said we're getting blown out. I would be okay if we just had close losses, competitive losses. Okay, so then we lose to a good Baylor team, 38-35, and I get it. We did a lot to shoot ourselves. Right. Get it, but a lot of those things are fixable. They are. Let's just be
sure. Listen, one turnover you don't have, and it changes it. You know,
we don't throw 3 first half. It's a different game. So we lose to a good Baylor team, 38-35, and there's the same vitriol as what happened in Red River. There's the same vitriol.
Just like 49-0. Yeah, same stuff. It doesn't matter. You have to win everything, or else what? You know.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, what is going on? Like, why? How are you conflating this? You said you wanted more losses like this, and not that we like to lose at all.
Sure.
We have a loss like this, and you're acting like it's the same thing as 49-0. Well, Brent's obviously like everybody's happy about the last 2 weeks. I mean, I was ecstatic last week. Iowa State's not, again, I know they don't have the win totals, but they've been in close games. We gave them their first double-digit loss, I think, in 12 or 13 games or the week before last week. So, like, you know.
Yeah, no, and I didn't know what to expect in that game, man. I was kind of concerned about it because they hadn't been great on offense, but they have a top 10 in the country defense.
Yes.
You know, so what are we going to do? You know, and they went out there and they did what they scraped together, what they had to do. Yeah. Played good on defense. I loved seeing that. But I mean, and you have to, this is the thing, is you have to believe in and like these games where they get, you know, hey, look, you go out there and you win a game like that. That's important.
Yes.
You know, that kind of builds it up. Should they have beaten Baylor? Of course.
Yes.
Of course. They should have. But here's the other thing. and this is something that, I saw that you would put this in the thread also, and I was on the same stuff. This comparing, first off, he's a first year head coach, and making these comparisons with Brian Kelly or I mean, and even Dan Lanning, it's not taking over the same thing first and foremost, but the whole thing with Kelly, and then the guy was even talking about Heupel in Tennessee, and I'm like, bro, they went 7-6 last year, but this Lincoln, for instance, he's not a first-time head coach, and Brian Kelly's obviously not a first-time head coach, and he took over a juggernaut. You know what I mean? But we're trying to compare apples to oranges, and when you've got a guy that's not only it's his first head coaching job, period, but he's not taking over the same team. It's not the same thing, but that's what you're gonna get. And then Sonny's been a head coach like 5 different places. They had the number 1 transfer portal class, or the number 3 in the Big 12, top 10 in the country, better than Oklahoma, better than Texas. What are we talking about?
Yeah.
I hate making stupid comparisons, and I don't like casuals, man. Casuals piss me off.
Yeah, no, at the end of the day, we just been talking about, we know, and I said this in the preseason. I said, look, even if Brent Venables fails, in my opinion, he's not going to fail terribly in the sense that maybe have a bunch of losing seasons. And here's why I believe that. He's seen and been a part of too much success. Okay,
correct.
30 years he's been in this game.
The things that he said too, like, you do things right all the time, and whether it's going bad or going good, that tells you.
And eventually it's going to show up. 30 years he's been a part of this game. He's been under 3 Hall of Fame head coaches. One's not in there yet, but Dabo's going to be. Okay, Bill Snyder. He's seen that. He's been in 8 national championship games. He's won 3. Okay. He knows what it takes to win, and he's coached, again, like we said, 8 out of the last 10 years of top 10 defense. He knows.
Yeah, you said, I know the scheme works. When you said that in your video, I was like, yeah, what else can you say? So he just forgot how to coach his own scheme that he's been running for all this time before he left, and then after he was there for 12 years, and he just forgot in 6 months.
Yeah. People are just, reaction. They're reactionary, and so
sure.
You didn't hear.
My question would be, here's the only thing, and I don't think that he's above questioning on some stuff. No. I do feel like we were talking about, you were saying about the 60-page, playbooks and stuff or like game plans. Yeah, that might be a bit much, particularly when obviously this is it's a tough defense to learn. It's not the same as Speed D where you just go to the football. There's gaps that you're supposed to stay in, and you could see it on the line, right down there by the goal line when they ran those touchdowns in, that they missed the gap. They completely missed it. 2 guys in the same hole.
Yep.
That's obviously, I loved it that they were going full speed, but guys, you got to hit the right spot. Yep. Maybe you dumb it down a little bit. Don't make it so hard. Run some more base type of stuff. Make it easier. I don't know. Maybe you do go to a 4-man front. I don't know. Whatever. It's just, it seems to me like there's some things that he needs to do. And I also kind of wonder, and I was going to get your opinion on this. What's your thought on, I'd love to see him be more like how he was as a DC, frothing at the mouth and bouncing. I know they don't want him to, or, somebody's told him that you got to be more like a CEO.
Yeah.
I don't think I don't think you can change who you are.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know that. I often wonder how much we don't get to see that. Like, obviously he's probably like that behind closed doors at some rate. I know, on the on the radio broadcast, they said that he was laying into David Ugwoegbu and Deshaun White on one possession last week, and so I think that he probably had a little bit more freedom to do that as a DC. Maybe he feels like as a CEO he has to be a little bit more diplomatic, a little bit, and again, being around Dabo, he's probably less that he was at Oklahoma. He's probably a little bit more encouraging, which I think is fine. I think it's good to have that.
No, that's good. No, I agree with that. But and guys love him though. I mean, obviously guys love him. They love him now.
And they still play for him. You know, they're not
Yep.
they're not quitting. It's just mistakes. You know. It's
Yeah,
not-
yeah. No, and you can see it that it's bugging him. It's killing him. You know, those post game press conferences, man. He looks like somebody kicked his dog. You know, you can tell it hurts him to lose, and that they're obviously teaching this, and they're doing well in practice because they go over it and go over it and go over it.
Yeah.
But then in the game, it's like you just said. Sometimes, I mean, you can coach it. My granddad was a freaking Hall of Fame coach here in New Mexico.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I get it. You know, you don't always, you just don't always get what you want out of it. But folks, want to say I appreciate you coming on, Jalen. It's been a great show. I know you got to get to a meeting, so I just wanted to go ahead and close there. But listen, again, you know, I wanted to bring you on just for that very reason, because we got some of this stuff that's being said out there, and it's not even just on Twitter; it's going on everywhere.
Yep.
And some places it's worse than Twitter, if you can believe that.
Yeah.
But it's, you know, honestly, folks, we got to get behind them and understand that it's no matter if Saban walked in the door or Urban Meyer. I saw somebody put Urban Meyer, the next coach, or something like that yesterday. It wouldn't have mattered. They were not going to win this year.
Nope.
They weren't going to win. The roster was gutted. You lose. I mean, even if you're maybe a little better, if, you know, whoever you bring in, maybe you're a little better. Maybe. I'm still going to fall back on that. I believe that they were this close to 7-6 a year ago.
Yep.
They were. So anyway, I appreciate you coming on the show, man. I just wanted to bring that up to you. And like I said, folks, everybody check him out at Indy_Sooner on Twitter, and also on YouTube. It's Indy Sooner. He puts out some amazing content, and then the show, they've got the podcast with him and Trav, JP and Trav. Check all that out. We'll put all that in the description below as well. Just check them out. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. And
yes, sir. Appreciate you having me on, bro.
Yes, sir.
Check
No
the
problem,
mic and
man.
make
Thank
sure
you.
it sound right, boys.
Sound right, boy.
It sound right, boys.